Welcome to Gumball Love. I'm Melissa Ledger, professional relationship coach, creator of Gumball Love and the Back to You Academy. If you're ready to stop the cycle of toxic men, get through the breakup once and for all, and finally get back to you, you are in the right place. This journey is about healing your heart, and you are encouraged to take the pace that is just right for you. In the process, you will build a foundation of confidence and strength that will make you unshakable, I promise. So get ready to level up your mindset and your lifestyle as you awaken the seeds of greatness just waiting to burst into full bloom. Let's do this. Welcome back to another episode of Gumball Love. I'm your host, Melissa Ledger. All right, today we're going to talk about the top red flags that you are dating a Gumball Guy, that this guy is not worth your time, and I'm going to give it to you in rapid fire. So I also did get Invisalign on my teeth, so I have these retainers in my mouth, and so if you notice my speech is a little off, I'm still adjusting to having these things on. But I am being very dedicated because I've heard from a lot of people they did not stick with Invisalign and their teeth moved back. So I'm going to be good about this. So anyway, I wanted to also tell you that there is a brand new workbook available. So if you go to gumballlove.com, you can get it right there. It's on the first page. It is the more detailed version of the flavors of the Gumball Guy. What are the red flags? And the love of my life. Ian came up with a great line that I think I'm going to use. Let me know what you think of this. It's called, or using the term, what are his true colors around the colors and the flavors of attention that these Gumball Guys crave. I'd love to know what you think of that. What are his true colors? What are the flavors that he or any of these guys, when you're out there and you're trying to figure out, okay, is this a guy I should continue talking to? You're staring at your phone. You started texting. You liked his profile. He's like, hey, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, somebody that's actually having a conversation. But when do I let this guy go, even though he might be cute, even though he might be asking me out? Because I know that sometimes it's like, oh, like, I don't know, was that bad? I mean, he's cute. And what if we start to like, what if he just doesn't know? Or what if he's just stupid about dating? Or yeah, he just got into the online dating world and he's been divorced, or he was in a long relationship. So maybe he just doesn't know better. And we start making excuses for this kind of behavior. So let me give it to you. I'm just going to go through the flavors of Gumball Love, but in a little bit different way. I'm just going to give it to you straight. All right. So number one, a guy that brings up sex right away or any sexual innuendo, red flag right away. It's a sign of a player, the sign of a pickup artist, that he can't wait. So remember, the sign of a Gumball Guy also is that he has a sense of urgency to get to that high. So he's sitting on the other side saying, I want that gumball. So when he puts in the quarter, and then that's when a lot of times we're sitting there like, what do I say to this? So if you catch yourself even pausing, it's probably because it's inappropriate. And you don't want it to be because you're having fun in that moment. And you're like, oh man, okay, what? But I can tell you with 100% certainty that had I eliminated every guy that did that, I would be better off. Because every time, and tell me if I'm wrong, every time I gave in, every time I made an exception, every time I made an excuse, I would always regret it. I would see, sorry about my email notifications being so loud, I would see that red flag again and I would think, see, I should have never met this guy. And I remember feeling not strong enough to continue to reject him, or not, I didn't feel strong enough to then say, okay, I can't talk to you. I would meet him and I would get to know him a little better. And then he would reach out. And I remember feeling too weak to reject him, too weak to say, you know what, I know I shouldn't be talking to him, but I would respond one more time. And some of those guys were in my life for maybe a few weeks or a few months even. And eventually I would get the strength to break it off. But I think about how many months, and this is where I really want you to start thinking, like, what is my time worth? When we're trying to, like, I don't know, should I just eliminate him for saying that? Like, it just seems so harsh. And it will seem harsh in the beginning. But I want you to imagine, what is the ideal? How does he show up? Is he talking about my boobs? Is he talking about, my body? Is he already jumping to something sexual? Is that the only thing that's on his mind? You know what I mean? And then people will say, oh, he's just a guy. He's always thinking about sex. That might be true about guys, but a guy that has respect for himself and for you will not bring that up until it's appropriate, until he has built enough of a relationship with you where you know each other so that it is appropriate. So first text, first conversation, first date even, where you can see him giving you that look, that sexual look. It's like right there, that's the goal. That's what he's there for. So that's your red flag number one. When he brings up sex immediately, he's a player. He's a pickup artist. This is what he does. It's what he does with every girl. And it's probably what he's doing with a lot of other girls behind the scenes. Okay. The ones that you're not seeing, the other ones he's talking to. This is the guy that you go on the great date with, and then you go on the dating app and you see he's online now, which I always used to think back then, like, but I'm online now too, because I'm checking if he's online. What if he's checking if I'm online? Online dating. It never gets easier. Okay. But I shouldn't say that, because it can get easier if you filter like a freak. So I want you to picture yourself out on a patio with your hands behind your back and you're laying in a hammock. And everybody that gets to date you has to go through a screen. Maybe there's a bouncer and they have to come through the house and they have to go through a screening process, and no one gets to your beautiful patio with your hammock and your trees and maybe the ocean is in the background, whatever. I want you to create an image in your mind of, what is my screening process? What gets you eliminated? Because if I remember creating a life where I finally felt so blissful and I finally felt so free, and I didn't let just anyone get in there. I didn't let anyone through that screen. But before, I would make exceptions. And then all of a sudden, me laying in the hammock was no longer. It was not fun. My life was full of people that were taking advantage, full of people that were making me feel bad about myself. Then I had an inbox full of text messages of guys that I didn't really like, they weren't having interesting conversations. It was just like, hey, how are you? How was your day? Hey, beautiful. Hi. And even the ones that you gave your phone number to, and you're like, oh, okay, I thought this was going to be a nicer conversation. And then I would keep talking to them, hoping that it would get better. And so this is the stuff. I was coaching one of my clients. I was like, this is the stuff that happily married women, when I talked to them about how they met their significant other, how they went through the dating process, can't say my S's with these things in, but I would ask them, and I would hear I would hear the strong filter. Oh yeah, I wouldn't, screw that guy. I mean, it was such a firm, quick way of bam, out. Like, I was talking to another client and I was telling her she was she was allowing people to take advantage of her. And you know who you are, but one person had her watch her dog for way too long. And I said to her, if someone asked me to watch their dog, I don't have time to watch someone else's dog. The answer would be an immediate no. And she was like, wow, just an immediate no. I remember her seeing my filter as like, no, you're not, I can't do it. And I wouldn't do it because I don't have the time. That would completely take over and throw my whole schedule off. I've got too many things going on. I can't just watch someone's dog indefinitely. And so that's the kind of decisiveness that you need to have when it comes to filtering, not only for people trying to take your time that in a non-romantic way. But when guys come in and it's like, okay, what are you offering me? Comments about my boobs? Yeah, bye. Oh, are you humping my leg through the phone? Like, bye. We have to get like, oh, yeah, you're cute, but you're going to waste my time. I want to talk to a guy who, what is it? Who do you want to talk to? What kind of a person are you looking for? Because I think a lot of times we're just going on dating apps and we're just seeing what comes in. And then we're trying to make judgment calls on what we see, what we hear. And we're not really thinking about what it needs to look like when it comes through. So what should it look like? And I'm only going to give you a generic perspective, my perspective on, and Ian's helped me with this too. And we're going to get him on the podcast, but I want to give you just some quick snippets. Like, what should it look like? It should look like somebody who actually read your profile and took the time to take an interest in you and generate authentic conversation. Something that is meaningful, something that is not sex related, which brings me to the next one, or something that where he insults you or digs you slightly. They pick something and they make fun of it. And you sit there and you're like, that kind of hurts my feelings. And again, I would pause and be like, oh, what does that mean? And I remember pausing long enough sometimes. And then the guy would be like, oh, sorry, I didn't, no, just kidding. Hope you didn't take me seriously. And then you're like, okay, that was weird. And so that's the fight me Gumball guy. There's a lot of guys out there that want to, they will be the guy that fights with you later, but that's that quote unquote witty banter or him being sarcastic or sorry, I have a sarcastic sense of humor. It's like, okay, but if you have that kind of sense of humor, do you also understand the timing that needs to be appropriate? So you can't just blame it on your humor. I mean, we there's all these things that they're bringing up and we're like, okay, that kind of stung. It'll be something that you're wearing, something that you do. Could be about your pets or, oh, so you're a cat person, huh? Like, is that a bad thing? You know what I mean? It's like they bring something up as if it's some kind of liability. And then you're supposed to sit there and wonder, okay, what is that? Is that something you don't like about me? So when you're getting these feelings, these are the red flags. And I'm telling you, that if we coach together, this is where I can really help you go through. Right now, we have a beta version of what are your Gumball Guys True Colors quiz that I can have you take behind the scenes. We're building this quiz. It'll be available probably in a couple of months. But if you want to take this quiz now and you want to do interactive coaching, we can zero in on what is, if you're stuck with a guy where you're like, I don't know what to do. I'm stuck. I like him, but there are all these red flags. I don't know what to do. Maybe I should break up with him, but he keeps coming around. There's all these different situations, whether you're in the relationship and you're feeling confused or you've broken up, but you keep kind of making up and he's coming back around. And so then you're doing all these stops and starts. What is actually going on? A lot of times we are missing these red flags, we're missing these cues, we're not understanding what's actually going on. Like my point number 3, so point number 1 and 2, he talks about sex too soon. Number 2, he insults or digs you slightly, makes fun of you a little where it stings a bit. That's what I have in my notes. Then gives you a just kidding. Number 3, he tunes out when you talk about yourself. You feel like you have to make it all about him. So this is kind of like, when you're texting, and I remember texting many guys where as soon as I said something about me and you're in that banter back and forth, then he would go quiet. And even if they go quiet for like a minute or two, it's like you were going back and forth, you develop a tempo. And then it's like, they're not there. and then they don't answer or address what you just said. They just move on to something different. And I remember feeling like, okay, and I would just allow that to slide many different times where, okay, I guess he doesn't want to answer that. And then I would doubt myself, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Or I wonder if he was offended. Is that why he paused? Or is he talking to other women? And right in that moment, when I didn't feel like I was entertaining him, so I'm giving you does he want me to just arouse him? Is number one. Does he want me to fight and banter? Does he want me to entertain him? Did he become fussy in that conversation? I'm calling the entertain me Gumball the fussy baby. Did he become the fussy baby? And now I feel like I have to say things in a certain way or avoid certain topics, or he's going to get mad. These are all red flags, because every single instance of this makes the dynamic that if he doesn't get his way, if you don't give him that gumball, if you don't give him the sugar high he wants, then he goes away. And so you date enough of these guys, and then you're like, well, I do want to date somebody, so maybe if I just give him a little bit of what he wants, then maybe it'll get better. So we keep going, and we don't realize there are all these guys out there that are not doing this. But when we've become attracted to Gumball Guys, it's kind of all we see. We'll skip right over the nice guys because they don't even hit your radar. And I'm developing some programs and things behind the scenes, and right now I'm doing a 3-part coaching session 3 coaching sessions. So you do 3 hours of coaching where we go in depth on this. Like, what are the red flags what is the current guy situation right now? Or you can take the quiz on multiple past boyfriends. Okay, Melissa, maybe I'm not dating anybody right now, but I want to take this quiz and I want to see the results for guy number 1, 2, and 3. I can't see the similarities yet. I had a very similar experience where it started out great and then something happened, and then it became, he pulled away, he cheated, he went MIA, he ghosted me, and then I heard from him again randomly, trying to decipher what is going on, what motivates this guy. And what's crazy is there's 8 different behaviors, 8 different flavors, 8 different gumballs. And what I find so fascinating is that when I'm putting together this content, sometimes I think like, well, this one should go with this one. And then I've had so many clients take this quiz on so many different guys now. And it's like, you guys, this is blowing my mind, where I'm like, oh, a convince me, chase me, idolize me guy is coming through, and the percentages. So not only will you get to know the flavor that he wants, but the percentage of intensity that he chooses that flavor of attention over another. And you will be able to figure this guy out immediately. So not only will we figure him out, but then we'll also talk about how you can, what makes you feed into it. And that's a huge piece of the coaching and things that I can't get into all of that. It would be too much in a podcast. But if this is right now, I'm looking for clients, just as a side note, sorry, I didn't mean to turn this into like a commercial, but I'm looking for clients that are at this point where they're like, I am over it. I'm done. I want change. I don't care what it takes, but I am ready to move past this. I'm ready to be done with this kind of guy. I want to have a life. I don't want to be stuck in this online dating hell. I'm ready to make this investment in myself. And look, it's not a cheap package. However, I'm going to ask you what I told my last client. What is one more heartbreak worth to you, or avoiding one more heartbreak? Because if you know this inside and out, you won't get your heart broken. I spent years dating in New York and I never got my heart broken. I would date, but I could start to see things and I was able to get out every time. Yeah, Gumball Guy. I could see it. And as soon as you can see the behaviors and you really understand what these behaviors mean, it would take away the attraction about them. Like I would see it, I would see the patterns repeat, and then it was like, oh yeah. And not only when you see the patterns and you see them repeat, then you know there is no future there. And I'm a planner. So when I see, okay, I can't make this work in the future because this guy's going to repeat these behaviors over and over again. When I see that, then I know, okay, I could invest another year in this guy and it's not going to matter. And that is so empowering. It gives you that confidence to move forward. And once you understand this content, you're not going to have to rely on me to make that decision. So that's my goal when I'm coaching you too, is to download as much of this to you so that you go out and you won't find more Gumball Guys. I don't have clients reaching out to me saying, I'm with more Gumball Guys. I just don't. I just kind of realized that over the past year, like, wow, my girls do really well. And some of them go on journeys where they decide to spend time on their own. Some of them meet people, and it just kind of depends on the person. Some people had some deep-rooted abuse and traumas that they realized, wow, I need to work through that before I'm out there in a relationship. And some were just ready to find that person. They just needed to tweak their filter. Okay, so let's go through them again, just really quickly. Bullet point: sex too soon, digs you or insults you slightly, tunes out when you talk about yourself, becomes fussy, becomes like, now I don't know what I can talk to him about because it feels like I'm walking on eggshells. The entertain me Gumball Guy. So one is the red gumball, about sex. Orange is about fighting. Yellow is about entertaining. So entertain me, that yellow Gumball Guy. And I shouldn't say yellow Gumball Guy because each of these guys will have several of these. It will just depend on the percentage. So some of them come through like, oh, this guy's 46% fight me, 25% arouse me. So no guy is just one flavor. But when they want to be entertained, when they become fussy, you feel like you're walking around on eggshells. So I'm trying to give you as many things to tie to these behaviors as red, it's easy, sex, orange, fighting, yellow, eggshells, walking around on eggshells. I have to entertain him. He's fussy. Green is he's bringing up other women. So I think the guy that says, and you're first talking to him, he's like, how's it going in online dating? How's online dating treating you? And you know it's the guy that wants you to tell him the stories about who you've been out with and like your horror stories. Like everybody else has been bad except for you. And then you expect to hear the same stories from him, yet then he'll bring up somebody else. Like, yeah, I went out with this girl a few times and she was really nice. So I don't know, like all of a sudden you're like, okay, is there another person in the picture? Or he brings up there is another person, or he's got an ex that's still calling him, or yeah, she's talking to me, or he brings you into the mix. Anytime, I remember coaching one of my clients where it was like his roommate actually had a crush on him and he reveals this to her in like date 2. And I was like, oh God, you can't date somebody whose roommate has a crush on him. So he literally goes home to then be in the same house with someone that's attracted to him. And then he would give her the updates on this play-by-play. So this is like, I have somebody else that wants me. So I want you to think of green. Green is green with envy. Okay, so I thought of what's the envious color? They want you to be jealous. Be jealous of me, but the jealousy is not what they're looking for though. Kind of, but they want you to compete. They want that jealousy to drive that competition because your effort in competing is what makes him get high. And now there are 2 women competing for him that know about each other. So that's the difference between green gumball and pink gumball, which is chase me. The chase me guy creates the chase, but you don't really know who the other competitors are or if they're there. It's very mysterious. So Chase Me guy keeps it mysterious, where Compete for Me doesn't. You know who the other woman is. You find out about her, and then he's in that struggle between you and her. So anytime, if you find yourself in this situation, this is when I want you to picture yourself. You're in the backyard, you're in the hammock. The guy comes in, he talks to your bouncer. Can I go hang out with her in her beautiful, blissful backyard with her beach and her hammock and flowers? But I've got this other girl on the side. He doesn't get through the door. Oh, you've got another woman. You've got another situation. Women that have high self-respect do not allow these relationships into their lives. So when we're not respecting ourselves, when we're not loving ourselves, we're willing to become the counselor and help him through, well, what are you going to do about your roommate that has a crush on you? And when you can see he has feelings for her too, and it's just rude, right? It's rude to bring somebody into that dynamic. It's hurtful. You're trying to build something with someone, yet they're already bringing someone else into the dynamic. This makes things difficult. It shows a lack of respect for you. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, see, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, the number 5. The guy that immediately tells you the sad story, that brings up trauma, if you find yourself on the date being like, oh my gosh, that's so terrible, I'm so sorry, and him being like, yeah, it was really hard. Even if it's a legitimate trauma that he went through, I want you to really pay attention to his body language as he delivers it. Is it just to share, or is this to get you to respond in a certain way? And look, sometimes these things can happen and it may not be a gumball guy, but I want you to be, if you're really looking for this and you can see, oh yeah, this guy has everything is a problem and everything's going wrong for him, and his boss is this and his family's this and everything's just bad, and it's all sad, sad, sad. Especially right in the beginning. That's a guy that, look, this is probably the one I'm the most susceptible to, because, and I know that a lot of you are the same. Whenever I meet anyone I coach with, I'm always like, I'm so proud of the people that are in this community, because you're all so loving and caregivers and you have so much love to give. And so the pity me, the guy that plays the victim, is going to bring up those caregiving, loving nature. He's going to bring that out in you. And this is a good thing in you, but not when it's abused, not when it's used by someone to just get attention and not build something with you. It's one thing when things are really bad, but it's another thing to keep using that so people feel sorry for you and you're not really interested or investing in them. So it's like, if the guy that brings up sex, if that's all he's talking about, he's not investing in you. He wants you to give him sex and he wants to use that as a high. If he's insulting you and he's digging you and he's picking fights, it's because he likes that intensity of the fight. He wants to fight because that's the high he gets. Because however he fights, he gets to be the know-it-all. He gets to be the guy that has the upper hand, and that's what he enjoys. That has nothing to do with building a connection with you. Or if he tunes you out when you talk about yourself and you walk around on eggshells, again, nothing about you. It's about him. If he's bringing up other women, again, it's about her. It's not about you, and you're focused on him and his life. If he's all about his sad story and he plays the victim, again, it's about him. It's not about you. And then if he is the idolize me gumball guy, he's the show off. It's about him, his money, his things, him being the center of attention, him telling the story, him stealing the spotlight, him interrupting. It's all about him, 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 him. So the show off guy is often overlooked sometimes, because I think a lot of us date the gumball guy that is sort of what I call the troll in the corner, where he's not social and he's staring at his phone and he's like not taking an interest in your friends. Where when we meet a show off, like idolize me guy, he is more social. He interacts with people. And so you feel like, oh, this guy is so much better. He's talking to my friends and I can take him out. And it can be really fun. But when you're around somebody like that, I want you to just pay attention. Like, can they let other people tell a story? Can they let other people have the spotlight? Can they let you tell a story, or does he have to be the one? Is it about his work? Is it about his car? Is it about his accomplishments? Is it like if someone tells a story about, I think the idolize me guy is the best known for, you tell a story and then he tells a story. He doesn't even acknowledge what you just said. You tell a story about golf and he tells a story about golf. It's like, okay, I realize that my story about golf made you think about your story, but you didn't even ask me anything about that specific instance. So it's like, I would, when I was identifying idolize me guy, I was like, okay, so you're talking and I'm talking, but we're not really having a conversation. This is when I realized we were like two ships passing in the night. It's like, we're not really connecting here. So then there is the chase me guy. His red flag is hot and cold, texting, then disappearing. You went on a date, but now he won't make plans. He's inconsistent. So what does the good guy do? He doesn't bring up sex. He doesn't pick fights. He doesn't need pity. He doesn't bring up his sad stories. He doesn't bring up other women. He will probably be confident, but he will share the spotlight. He will be able to sit calmly and talk to your friends and family. He will be consistent. You'll know his intentions. And I know this kind of guy seems impossible to find. However, as I look back, it was impossible to find for me for so many years because I ignored every red flag. I kept giving them chances. Unless it was blatantly obvious, I would just keep trying to make excuses because I know, at least for me, it was hard to let a guy go that was interested in me, that was asking me out. Even if he came with red flags, it was still somebody because I'm tall, I'm opinionated, I've always had success in corporate America. And so I always felt like, how am I going to find somebody? And that scarcity mentality always kept my confidence low. And it was when I shifted that and I decided I'm going to go live the life that I want. I'm going to go do what I want to do. That's when I did my academy and I updated my website and I really just put Gumball Love out there. I was like, I'm going to be Melissa, the best version of me. And I'm going to ballroom dance, even though the guy I thought was the love of my life told me he didn't like it when I was dancing. And I kept these dance shoes in my closet for 9 years. And I finally pulled those shoes out and went to Fred Astaire in New York and danced and learned how to ballroom dance. And I still ballroom dance. And none of these things are intimidating to my significant other now. None. In fact, the things that I was hiding are the things that he loves the most. So it doesn't help us at all to hide, to make concessions, because every time you make a concession, every time you ignore the red flag, you make yourself smaller, you make yourself less, you make yourself less important. You don't say, it's like, however we concede when it comes to sex, maybe you sent the sexy picture or you were like, oh, thank you, I've been working out a lot, and then he's like, oh yeah, I can tell your ass is smoking. And we let those conversations happen because we don't know what else to do. Or we give into the witty banter because the insults and we categorize it as witty banter and we let it go. And maybe it happens a couple more times and then we just kind of like give a sassy remark back because that seems like what he wants. So It's like whenever you catch yourself, maybe this is what he wants me to do, that's when our real self isn't there yet. So we want to date. Online dating can be like Christina Pearson, who I had on the podcast of Can't Get a Text Back. She had a great advice in her story about, do online dating, but give it 15 minutes a day. Don't make it your whole life. Don't let it take over, and have other things going on, because this can consume us. And then all of a sudden we forget who we are, and we allow somebody to tune out. Like I remember allowing these guys to tune out. I would allow him not to answer a question on a text and just go to the next topic because I was afraid to bring it up. I was afraid he would leave. And I want you to turn that around and say, if he leaves, that makes him not for me. Because you guys, as I've been in a committed relationship now almost 2 years, it'll be 2 years in January. So we're year and 9 months. It's so obvious to me now why you have to be that confident, that forward, that picky, because you can't deal with this in a relationship. You can't deal with all these things going on. Like I've told Ian so many times, I'm like, I see why my happily married friends would be like, oh God, you can't deal with that, because they knew what it looked like in a long-term relationship. Those of you that have been married or in long relationships, you know what this looks like on the other side. You know how hurtful it is. You know how isolating. You lay in bed and you feel like you're alone. You feel like he doesn't love you. It's just this constant back and forth of feeling not worthy, and then riding those highs of when he's available and when he's in the mood. So that's the life of a gumball guy, is when he's in the mood, that's when it's great. And when he's not in the mood, it totally sucks. And how long can you ride that roller coaster? So I want to give you this 30,000 foot view of the guy first. And so if you're interested and you want to take this quiz and you want to figure out, okay, I need to know what's going on with this guy. I need to know how, because sometimes once we get in so deep, and once we are emotionally attached, these red flags get harder and harder to see. And even if you can see them, you feel too weak to fight it. And so that's why I did my last podcast, of one of the last podcasts before, of why we feel dumb. That's why there's so much shame. It's like, oh, I know better, but I keep doing this. What is the deal? So I'm the girl that you come to with no worries about judgment. When you know better, but you keep doing it. I get it. And that's my whole platform, is designed to help you. So you can come in and be like, okay, here's the deal. And you don't have to apologize. You don't have to feel bad, because I create this content based on going back to those moments where I knew better and I didn't make the right choice. That's where I lived for so long, and I didn't understand how to get out. And I found the way. And I feel like there's nothing like this content anywhere. There is no, my girl Jessica Castillo, who has been my right hand and helped me with my website and brought the academies to life years ago and has just been an integral part. She was like, this is a whole behavioral study. And so this really gets down to, I don't know any other behavior study or way of looking at people, because you can look at people. We're going to do a non-romantic quiz too, so you can take this quiz about boyfriends, but also like, I don't know, is my mom or dad a gumball person, or my brother, sister, cousin, coworker, boss? You're going to be able to take this quiz and learn. I want to take this quiz about all kinds of people in my life and see, am I surrounded by gumball people? Because guess what? I was. I had to really clean house and start to minimize my interaction with these people, because I was letting this behavior control me in so many different relationships. So I feel like I missed one. Oh, I did. Convince me. So how does convince me guy, the final red flag, show up? If you find yourself selling yourself, trying to argue with him about whether he's saying, I don't believe in love, or he's saying he doesn't believe you, or what you're saying, or how you're saying it. However, when you feel like when you're dealing with the skeptical guys, this is what I call him, the skeptic. I also want to call him the know-it-all, but it's kind of like that guy that sits in this chair of superiority. The skeptic will act superior to you. Maybe that's a better way to think of it. I thought about calling him Mr. Superior too, but if you feel like someone's acting superior to you, so that would make you feel inferior. When you're getting that sense of I'm inferior to you, that's also a red flag. Like, oh, I feel like he's so much better, or he's more successful. And suddenly you are proving yourself to him. That is your red flag that you need to stop and say, what am I proving? And you can, a lot of times, a lot of these conversations are going on in text. So you can scroll back and look at how am I proving myself? Am I being overly sexual when I don't want to be? Am I fighting back in a way that doesn't feel like me? So all of this really gets down to, who are you really? What is your genuine energy? How would you talk to like your best friend? People that really care about you, people you're really comfortable with. Does this sound like you, or does this sound like you trying to be something he wants? And that's your differentiator. So I hope this helps. And again, my door is open right now. I'm coaching a handful of clients. It is starting to fill up because this quiz is so powerful. So right now you can have access to the beta version and get interactive coaching with me. So go to my website at gumballlove.com or click the link in the Instagram bio. You can click on book now and you will get 3 sessions. Session number 1, we talk about him and we learn what kind of gumball guy he is. What are his flavors of attention? Session number 2, we talk about you. Okay, let's go into, and we'll talk about you, of course, in the first one, but we really diagnose the guy. And I give you access to my client hub where you'll have a login. You'll be able to interact with me and take notes. And if you're struggling in a certain area, or you need a podcast, or you need a resource, you're like, Melissa, okay, what about this or what about that? What should I do? You're going to be able to coach with me interactively in the client hub. Session number 2 will go more in depth about, okay, how do I avoid this? How do I see the red flags before I develop feelings for someone? Or if you're in a relationship, we'll really dig deep on how you want to move forward, what you do when you're still with him and you don't know, okay, am I going to stay with this guy, or am I going to develop an exit strategy to walk away from this guy? Either case, there is no pressure on you to make that decision one way or the other. And then the third session, I'm offering what I'm calling Borrow My Boyfriend, where Ian will come in on that third session. You can coach with him alone, or you can do you can coach with us as a couple, where you can actually talk to a guy. And it's not about having the male perspective, but I do feel like I remember when I finally talked to my married friends and I was able to talk to their husbands, it was so helpful just to hear a guy say things that I thought no guy was saying. So if you don't have that in your life, if you want that, it's an option you can take on that third session. So you will get the full report. You will understand the red flags. You will understand the flavors of attention that you are or the types of gumball guys that you're attracting, and how those flavors of attention manipulate you into giving the gumballs. So, or how those different kind of gumball guys, the flavors that they crave, how that manipulates you into doing things that you may not even realize that you're doing. Once you can decode all of this, the scales are off of your eyes. You can see it clearly, and you will feel like you have superpowers, because I do. I can see I mean, I've been teaching Ian this over the past year and a half. And now he's like, every time we watch a show, he's like, oh my God, idolize me, chase me, convince me. Oh, it's everywhere. He can just diagnose people, even characters on shows or people that we know or we meet. It's like he's identifying and seeing that behavior right away. And so it's once you get it, and then you cannot unsee it. And that's where that empowerment comes in. And here's the cool thing about this is that even at my lowest confidence level, once I saw the gumball behavior, even when I didn't feel my best, I could still see that behavior. And that built confidence in me as I was able to identify it. Because it was like I could be sitting there feeling low, but then when I'd be like, ew, I can totally see you just want to be idolized, or you're a rouse me pickup artist guy. You're being the player. You're being the drama king. You just want to fight. Once I could see that, even if I felt weak, it was still so empowering. And as I was able to diagnose, then I became more confident to make better decisions. And that's how I was able to filter like a freak and filter guys out, even when I wasn't. I don't want you to feel like you have to be this ideal, confident, perfect version of yourself. You can get better and better, and you'll filter out more and more, and you'll waste less and less time until you're finally a well-oiled machine. You're doing the things that you need to be doing in your life. You're working out, you're eating right, you're taking your vitamins, you're doing your green drinks, you're going to, you're in your hobbies, you're doing things you enjoy doing, and life will come together as you empower yourself and get these toxic people, including non-romantic people, out of your life. So go to my website and get the free workbook. Just get at least that to get started, and then talk to me about coaching. If you need payments, it is $697 to do the 3 coaching package, which I know might sound like a lot. However, when you really break it down and you think about, is that worth not going through that gut-wrenching heartbreak? I can tell you with almost 100% certainty, once you get it and you stay committed, you're going to be in such a better place. And my mission is to protect your heart so that the only person that gets through that filter is the guy that's going to make you feel amazing, make you feel so loved and appreciated and adored like you deserve. So let me know what you think. I'd love to hear from you, Melissa at Gumball Love. And if you want to DM me and on Instagram, I'm at the Melissa Ledger on Instagram as well. All the links are in the show notes. And until next time, I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for listening. If you want more information or to schedule a private coaching session, or better yet, to join the next Back to You Academy, go to gumballlove.com. If you loved this podcast, I would love for you to share it with your friends. And if you really loved it, a 5-star review is the best compliment you can give. Remember, you are enough, you are right where you should be, and the only thing you have to do is keep going. I'll leave you with my favorite quote by Henry David Thoreau. Go confidently in the direction of your dreams and live the life you have imagined. Until next time, I'll see you soon.